A woman is lying on her kitchen floor. Her chest is tight. Her left arm has gone numb. Somewhere beneath the fear, she knows what these signs mean. She knows every second counts. She knows help is 3 digits away. She picks up the phone in her hand. And she opens a social media app. She types, "Is this a heart attack? Need advice fast." Then she waits. Not for an ambulance. For a reply. This is not a story about one woman. It is happening in thousands of homes tonight. And it points to something that should frighten you more than any single emergency. The oldest program our species ever wrote, the will to survive, is being quietly overwritten. Their first instinct in a crisis isn't to survive, it's to post about it. It would be easy to call this stupidity. It isn't. To understand it, you have to understand what 15 years did to the human brain. Think about the last time you didn't know something. A word, a direction, a date, the name of an actor. You didn't sit and strain to remember. You reached for your phone. Every day, hundreds of times, you ask the network instead of your own mind. Psychologists have a name for this. They call it cognitive offloading. It's the brain's quiet decision to stop storing what it knows it can look up. In 2011, a researcher named Betsy Sparrow proved it in a lab. She gave people facts to remember and told some the computer would save them. Those people forgot the facts almost instantly. Their brains had already decided, the machine will remember, so I don't have to. She called it the Google effect. We don't remember the information. We remember where to find it. And once the brain learns it can outsource a task, it stops practicing it. We offloaded our memory to search engines. We offloaded our sense of direction to maps. Most people can no longer navigate their own city without a glowing blue line. We offloaded arithmetic to calculators, spelling to autocorrect. Piece by piece, we handed our mental abilities to a device. And the device became something stranger than a tool. It became a second brain, an external mind we carry in one hand. We feel smarter than ever, holding all of human knowledge in our palm. But a strange thing happens when a brain stops doing a task. It doesn't just rest, it begins to lose the wiring for it. The muscle you never use is the muscle that quietly disappears. For most things, this is harmless, even useful. But here is the hinge the whole story turns on. The last thing we are learning to offload is not a fact or a route. It is judgment itself. The decision about what to do, we are handing that to the network too. And the brain doesn't keep separate rules for big moments and small ones. It runs on grooves, pathways worn smooth by repetition. When you've reached for the phone 10,000 times, the reach becomes automatic. It fires before you think, before you choose. So when the worst moment of someone's life arrives, and uncertainty floods the body, the oldest, deepest groove fires first. Not run, not call, not act. Ask the network. The hand reaches for the phone the way it has 1,000 times before. Only this time, the phone has no answer that can save them. To see where this leads, we have to go back to 1964. To a story you may think you know. Most of what you know is wrong. A young woman named Kitty Genovese was attacked outside her apartment in New York. The newspapers reported that 38 people watched and did nothing. That number was an exaggeration. The truth was messier. But the story lit a fire under 2 psychologists. Their names were John Darley and Bibb Layton. They asked a question that still echoes today. Why would a crowd of witnesses do nothing while a person dies? So they built experiments to find out. In one, they filled a room slowly with smoke while people sat inside. Alone, people got up and reported the smoke quickly. But in a group, they sat. and watched and waited. Some stayed in the smoke-filled room until they could barely see. In another study, a person seemed to have a seizure over an intercom. When a subject believed they were the only one listening, they rushed to help. When they believed others were listening too, far fewer moved at all. Darley and Latin had found something chilling. They called it the bystander effect. And the engine behind it, the diffusion of responsibility. It works like this. When you are the only witness, the responsibility is 100% yours. You act because no one else can. But add witnesses, and the weight divides. Among 10 people, each feels only a tenth of the duty to act. Among a crowd, each person's share shrinks to almost nothing. Everyone assumes someone else will step in, and so very often, no one does. For 50 years, this was a truth about physical crowds. People in a room. Witnesses on a street. But now consider what a single post does. When that woman on the kitchen floor opens the app, she is not summoning one witness or 10. She is summoning hundreds, sometimes thousands. She has gathered the largest crowd of witnesses in human history and handed every one of them a sliver of the responsibility. The diffusion of responsibility, scaled beyond anything Darley imagined. 1,000 people see the post. Each assumes another will help. Each assumes someone closer, someone smarter, someone already on the phone. And the comments fill with worry and prayers and advice. But worry is not an ambulance. A comment is not a paramedic. Some who see it will care deeply. Some will type with shaking hands. But almost every one of them assumes the same thing. Surely someone closer has already called. Surely the family knows. Surely a post this frightening has already reached the right person. It is the smoke-filled room again, only now the room holds 1,000 people. And 1,000 people, each waiting for the others, is somehow emptier than one. Here is the cruelest part. The person in danger is no longer just surrounded by bystanders. They have become a bystander too. A bystander to their own emergency. They have handed the decision to a faceless crowd and stepped back, to wait for the crowd to decide, in the one moment when waiting is the most dangerous thing a human can do. The clock that matters is not measured in likes. It is measured in minutes of oxygen, in the reach of a clot. And while the feed refreshes, that clock keeps running. So far, this looks like a story about bad instincts. It is deeper than that. Because the question remains, why post at all? Why does the hand reach for an audience instead of a lifeline? The answer lives in something a whole generation was quietly taught. For years now, an experience has not felt fully real until it has been witnessed by the network. The meal isn't eaten until it's photographed. The trip didn't happen until it's posted. The moment doesn't count until others have seen it. We did not decide this consciously. It seeped in, one notification at a time. The screen slowly became the place where reality gets confirmed. And if that is true for a sunset or a dinner, it becomes true for a crisis too. For someone shaped this way, posting is not a cry for help. It is something stranger. It is how the event becomes real. The danger feels distant, suspended, almost like it isn't happening. Until it is seen, until the network reflects it back. The post is not a request for an ambulance. It is an attempt to make the nightmare real enough to believe. And in that delay, that reaching to be witnessed, the most precious minutes are spent. This is the quiet thing the device has done to us. It did not just take our memory or our attention. It slipped itself between us and reality. It became the lens every experience now passes through. And in an emergency, that lens does something unforgivable. It stands between a human being and their own instinct to survive. To understand how strange that is, you have to meet the oldest part of you. Deep in the brain, beneath thought, beneath language, sits the amygdala. Two small almond-shaped clusters, older than civilization, older than speech. It is your alarm, your fear circuit. It does not deliberate. It does not check for comments. When danger appears, it floods the body before the thinking mind even knows. It is the reason your ancestor leapt back from the snake before they understood they had seen one. Every human alive is the descendant of someone whose amygdala screamed in time. For 1,000,000 years, that voice was the loudest in the body. It said one thing, and it said it without mercy: act now. And now, for the first time in the history of our species, a newer voice has learned to speak over it. A voice trained by 15 years of grooves and glowing screens. A voice that says, in the face of death itself, post first. That is the strange and frightening thing hiding inside a habit we barely notice. Not that people are foolish, they are not. But that a machine in a single generation has begun to overwrite a program that took evolution 1,000,000 years to write. It is tempting to end here, in the dark. But there is one more thing worth seeing. The woman on the kitchen floor is not weak. She is not a fool. She is a person doing exactly what she was trained, every day, to do. The tragedy is not her character. It is the training. And training can be undone, but only if we can see it. Only if we notice the groove before the groove decides for us. There is a version of that moment where her hand still reaches for the phone, but dials 3 digits instead of opening an app. Where the oldest voice wins. Where instinct beats the feed. The difference between those two moments is almost nothing. A half second. A single choice, made before the choice feels possible. But everything lives in that half second. Because the network, for all its reach, cannot do the one thing that matters. It cannot put its hands on your chest. It cannot breathe for you. It can only watch, and worry, and refresh. So the next time something goes wrong, truly wrong, notice where your hand goes first. Notice the pull toward the audience, toward the comfort of being seen. And know that underneath it, older and quieter, the real instinct is still there, still screaming the thing it has screamed for 1,000,000 years. Act now. The phone can wait. The post can wait. Some moments are not meant to be witnessed. They are meant to be survived. This has been the Human Code. Stay curious. Stay human.